HDFC Securities now joins us to discuss these recent changes. Deepan, hi, good morning. First, a word on the market. We have seen a big rally. So, what's the next big call and why this shift to domestic cyclicals?
Yeah, so the standard disclaimers apply, I'm afraid. A short-term trend is always difficult to predict, so we can have a little bit of a breakout once in a while or a reversion to recent lows. But I think the broader story here has to be picked up not from market levels or cues so much as macro and geopolitical cues. And what we are observing there, prompts us to tactically shift our preference for and indeed our model portfolio towards the domestic cyclical stories rather than the secular overseas or global stories.
Okay, so let's discuss that. Why so much weight on ICICI Bank and State Bank of India? Is it a valuation call after the underperformance, or are you sensing something big in banking itself? That's why you're playing the two largest funds.
So this is, I completely agree with you. Both SBI and ICICI have been relative underperformers, especially in the recent past. And I think the way to look at these two banks is that these are two very large banks which are direct proxies for any cyclical uptick in the economy. And both of these are being challenged right now. State Bank much more, I must confess, on the ground of domestic stressed asset formation, and hence both their valuations have come down to pretty much below historic levels. And the way to see this is in the larger context of risk appetite shifting, of policy reforms, the visibility and confidence on policy reforms coming in, and asset quality healing playing out, interest rates falling, the capex cycle taking off. So there's a context behind this preference now, and it's really lovely that both these banks are at very, very affordable valuations. So whether you have ICICI Bank at maybe about 1.5x or a little more, or State Bank at close to 1x on F17 basis adjusted, both of them adjusted for subs, of course. I think these two banks are two large, monstrously large banks, if I may, available for ridiculously low multiples at a time when the private sector pack is trading for 3x and above. So I think the shift towards value and the recognition of their anchor position in the banking space calls for a preference for these two stocks in the model portfolio. And both of them, we've upgraded both of them to about 10% in the model.
Okay, well, some news on SpiceJet. They have inducted 6 new aircrafts, and they have also unveiled their winter schedule as well. So do watch out for the flashes on your screen. But Deepan, hi, good to see you in today. Infy as well as HCL, they are a part of your overweights. Why these two?
So again, you will see evidence of ground-up arguments and I would say valuations at play here. So HCL Tech at 13-14x for a very unique business model, which has stood it in very good stead over the last 3 or 4 years, and the stock has been a clear outperformer from within the IT pack. And when you compare it with a TCS and so on, some of which are the higher valued stocks in the space, comparable peers are at 17, 18x and so on, 19x. So then you say that the recent profit warning, and by the way, we are down about 11% on this call in our model, and we are not perturbed. We would like to retain faith here. On the other hand, in Infosys, you have this multi-year story and transformational story under the leadership of Vishal Sikka. So for both these stocks, I think at the stock level, the confidence is not moved at all. While we've tactically reduced Infosys a little bit, it's just to create the surplus cash to buy some of the value picks that we wanted. Like we have, for example, reduced our weight on IndusInd Bank, which is a very strong overweight so far, to an equal weight, just to create cash so that we could buy some of the beaten down cyclicals.
Okay, interesting point there, Deepan. But the other sector which I wanted to ask you about is auto. In fact, Tata Motors and Maruti, both of them have been completely divergent performances. What drives your overweight there?
I think for both of them, there are different drivers and different perspectives that need to be put on the table. So while our preference for global stories is running low right now, we think that the beating down in Tata Motors has been overdone. If you look at their product launch pipe, if you look at the fundamental capabilities of the company, and you look at the small market share that they have in the luxury car space, whether globally or in pockets like China, which are admittedly going through a challenge right now, you see that here is a story with very, very high long-term potential. And if it's been beaten down some 40-45% from peak, this is really a level to remain overweight at, and there is no way that you can panic and exit from this stock right now. So that's the story insofar as Tata Motors is concerned. I completely agree that there might be a 3-month challenge here, but I do not think there is a 3-year challenge. Now in Maruti, on the other hand, is a completely domestic focused story. And this is a company which is showing the potential to grow volume sustainably over the next 3 or 4 years in a row. We are seeing a strong cyclical revival of passenger car demand, and to my mind, this is the only listed play that offers you an opportunity to ride this this growth. And you might argue that valuation in Maruti. So if memory serves me right, we're at about 18x or so. But again, that is after adjusting for a very large depreciation outlay. So on cash earnings, maybe it's about 10, 11x or so, or thereabouts. And I don't think these are valuations at which you let go of such strong growth stories.
The trade that's really worked over the last 2 years has been to buy the downstream oil marketing companies and sell the upstream ones like ONGC. Now you're reversing that call, buying ONGC and actually selling HPCL. So in this, are you taking a bit of a crude call?
So I really don't know what you mean by crude call. But yeah, it works for both meanings of the term. So in the sense that one is that I think crude oil prices themselves are poised for, if nothing else, at least a little bit of a bounce from recent lows. ONGC has been battered down completely from the 350 odd or even higher levels down to about 250 now. And if you look at absolute valuations and the sensitivity of ONGC's fair value to oil prices, and keep in mind that this government has made at least an informal commitment that upsides in oil prices are going to be made available to ONGC for all domestic production up to $60. So at the headline numbers, I think today, if you were to value ONGC at something like $60 oil price, you would run into maybe 120, 130 rupee upside from here, which I think is substantial. And I think we should play for that at least for a while. On the other hand, on HPCL, I think the best part of the re-rating arising out of reforms in the oil sector and falling oil prices, and then the lower subsidy receivables burden which was to be borne by the company, that upside and re-rating has played out substantially. The stock is close to something like 2.5 or 3x from its worst lows. It's also a fact that we are looking at refining margins crack in the near term, and the additional upside in our thesis, which was to accrue to HPCL from rising distribution margins or marketing margins, is something that is going to be staggered out over a period, and I don't think it's going to kick in as early as we might feel. So I think much of the big gains on HPCL are already made. We still have a fairly high target price, but as you know, it doesn't figure in our top picks anymore. It doesn't, and hence it shouldn't figure in our model portfolio anymore.
You have only 5 non-index stocks in your model portfolio. That's quite interesting. And in that, 2 stocks that really stand out for me, Bharti Infratel and Bharat Forge. What's the story here, and why do you like these stocks?
So Bharat Forge again is a little counterintuitive, because here I am giving you a speech on the fact that we should be domestics focused and we should be avoiding global stories. By the way, we've completely exited pharmaceuticals from our model portfolio. So we've exited Sun Pharma and Lupin, the 2 large holdings that we had at very decent gains, just as an aside. Now on Bharat Forge specifically, I can tell you that here is a very high capability company. There are some headwinds in terms of global demand from the truck market, let's say in the US, where it has a large exposure. But there is a very strong revival in domestic CVs. And I suspect that the delta to Bharat Forge's earnings over the next 2 or 3 years is not going to be so much of its very well, it's very highly developed capabilities and increasing market share in the US CV market, as much as it is going to be in the revival of the domestic CV market and its foray into non-auto spaces. Now, some of that is also under challenge because oil and gas is going through a little bit of a crunch. But here we prefer to maintain faith in the capability of the company. Valuations at 19x, I think, are not very cheap here, certainly. But we are placing faith in the delivery to come through. And I think if Bharat Forge has fallen from the level where we entered it, I think this is no reason to panic. If anything, another 10%, and I think we should actually be confident enough to add.
Okay, fair enough, Dipan. We leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. Well, a lot of stock picks coming in there. Time for a break now, but we'll continue our discussion on the fundamental triggers of the market. Sanjay Sinha of Citrus Advisors will be joining in next, and we'll get you some stocks in news as well.